F9 is a really interesting paper because it takes you into the practicalities of running a real business. And when you're running a real business, you will need a finance manager, and you will need that finance manager to use their expertise to give you important commercial advice. Which projects should we invest in and which shouldn't we invest in? How should we finance these projects? Do we have enough money to pay a dividend? Should we increase the dividend or cut the dividend? Or should we buy back shares instead? These are really important, often critical business decisions, and F9 is going to equip you with many of the tools needed to deliver that sort of advice. So it should be an enjoyable paper. It is a challenging paper. It's a challenge because it's a big syllabus. The syllabus is broad, but the good news is that the exam does not go into depth. So if you've got a good broad knowledge of these important commercial issues, then you should be successful in this paper. Now, before we go forward to look at the syllabus, I would like to leap ahead and have a look at the exam structure, and you'll see why in a moment. So as we turn to look at the exam paper, let's go straight in and have a look at the structure. So whether you're doing the exam by computer or as a paper-based exam, you've got the same basic exam structure. The key features of the structure is that it's 100% compulsory. There's no choice here, and the exam is structured to make sure that you've got a good broad understanding of the syllabus. It does this by splitting the exam up into 3 sections, and the first 2 sections are tested with objective test questions, so short questions with a single correct answer. Each question is worth 2 marks. Now these questions are structured to cover most of the syllabus area, so you've got to have a good broad knowledge, and one of the key things that you'll be tested on is your understanding of key definitions. So do you know what commercial paper is? Do you know what monetary policy is? And so if you've got a good broad knowledge and you've learnt the key terms, you can score quite well in sections A and B. There will be a mixture of numerical and discussion-based questions, slightly more discussion-based than numerical, but overall about a 50-50 split, something close to that anyway. So the section A questions are 15 independent questions covering the whole of the syllabus area. Section B is slightly different because you've got 3 questions, each based on the same mini case study, typically about half a page long, so nothing really to worry about. And within each question you've got 2-mark questions, 5 2-mark questions within each case study, so 10 marks per case study and 30 marks in all. Each of the questions within the case study is completely independent from the other question. So you will never get a situation where if you can't answer the first question, then the second question can't be answered either. Each question is completely independent, and that's very good news. Following the objective test questions, you've got section C, where you have to do 2 questions worth 20 marks each, so 40 in total, and again split approximately 50% numerical and 50% discussion. But also testing your application skills much more than the section A and section B questions do, because you can be asked to comment on the meaning and the limitations of the numbers that you've calculated. Now the key thing to be aware of here is that whereas section A and section B of the exam could test anything, section C of the exam will concentrate on 3 key syllabus areas. So these are the 20-mark questions. 2 questions, 20 marks each, and a question will either be mainly on working capital or business finance. That's normally one of the questions, and the other question we would expect to be on investment appraisal. So these 3 syllabus areas are more important than the others but the exam is structured so that you have to study the whole syllabus in order to score well in section A and B of the exam, which is worth 60 marks in total, remember. Now that is not to say that the section C questions, the 20-mark questions, will only be on these areas. It is possible that a small number of marks in any section C question could come from another syllabus area, although in reality that seems to be fairly rare, but it is possible. So the learning journey that you're going to go through will take you through a number of different areas. First of all, you're going to look at generally what you're trying to achieve as a financial manager. What plans you need to have in place in order to hit a business's objectives and what those objectives should be. You're then going to move on to think about the environment within which a business is trying to achieve its objectives. You're going to look at the financial markets that you're going to be raising money from. You're going to look at the economy and how that might affect you. And then you're going to go into the detail of financial management. How do we manage working capital, cash in particular? How do we invest our money? How do we actually decide which projects are worth investing in? And if you want to invest in these projects, where do we get the money from? There's a lot to look at there. One particular type of investment decision is investment by buying another business. How do we make sure that we haven't paid too much? How do we value businesses for acquisition? And finally, businesses face risk, in particular exchange rate risk and also interest rate risk. And you're going to be looking at some of the basic techniques for managing these types of risk before developing them in paper P4, the Advanced Financial Management paper, if you choose to take that optional paper. One of the challenges of this paper is that it tests you on areas that you may not have yet come across in your working life. But in the course of your learning journey, you will develop capabilities that you will use in the very near future. Because in business, you're required to give advice on, in particular, investment appraisal and sources of finance and the cost of sources of finance and valuing businesses and managing risk. And I'd pick out these capabilities in particular as being absolutely essential for a financial professional. And those are capabilities that you develop with F9. It's an interesting and useful paper. And it links to paper P4 if you choose to do that paper in the future. It also draws to a limited extent on your understanding of management accounting, but don't panic. Any links that are important there, we will explore within F9 as we study. So hopefully that's given you a flavour of some of the challenges and the benefits of studying F9. Many people find F9 a very interesting paper, and it's certainly a very important and practical one as you develop in your career. The challenges are it's a broad syllabus. You've got to have a good understanding of all of these syllabus areas, but we've picked out the 3 key areas because they're the areas that the 20-mark questions are based on, and you'll come across 2 of those in the real exam. So that's it for now. Good luck with your studies.